Welcome, Spartans, to Halo TV Plus, part of Evolved, your home for Halo. I'm your host, Oran, and on Halo TV Plus, my guests and I recap Halo's original TV show, Halo the Series, and we discuss its contents and unique canon within the Silver Timeline. Joining me tonight for Episode 4, Homecoming, is Will. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to dive into this episode and talk about it and see what's going on in the Silver Timeline.
Yeah, man, I'm so happy that I was able to get you on the show. Of course, Will, you're joining us from the HCS Pro Talk podcast that we have kind of a partnership going on between us, Evolved and you guys. And it's always great when we have these type of collaborations because you guys are just awesome Halo fans.
Appreciate that. Yeah, you guys as well. It's great to get together and get a little cross-contamination from the lore world into the HCS world. And I think this Silver Timeline that they got going on with the TV show is great for both sides.
Yeah, I wonder how many HCS sort of pro Halo content they managed to squeeze into these TV shows. We'll have to really put a fine eye and see if we could find anything.
Yeah, I'm waiting for a map to show up, whether it be a base, a facility, something we've seen. Hopefully we get some sort of nod to the multiplayer side of things.
That would be really cool. I will say, though, there are a lot of the industrial companies that are featured in the Halo maps do appear throughout the show on ship manufacturing and just TV screens. So there is that element to it, but yeah, if they were able to drop some type of, not game landmark or map landmark is the best way to say it, that would be really cool. But we'll see what they still have in store later in the season. So as our listeners know, in case you don't know, Halo TV Plus produces a commentary podcast episode and an analysis podcast episode to accompany the Halo the Series episode of the week. So this episode is our commentary, where Will and I will watch the episode Homecoming, which is episode 4, and discuss the events as they unfold on screen. We encourage you to watch along with us. If you haven't watched the episode yet, I recommend that you watch it before listening to this because we will spoil scenes before and while they happen and kind of talk about the episode as a whole. And I, of course, want you to experience the episode on your own or with a group of friends first before listening. If you're sticking around, though, if you've already watched it, take a moment to queue up the episode while I run through some housekeeping. Halo TV Plus is part of Evolved that hosts a variety of other Halo shows: Podcast Evolved, Mission Debrief, Builds with Blocks, Halo Book Club, and Halo Headlines. Evolved also partners with the podcast HCS Pro Talk, where Josh and my buddy Will here discuss the latest information within the competitive Halo scene with an emphasis on community every week. You can learn more about each show on our website, evolvedhalo.com. As Halo TV Plus is a new show, I ask that you rate it and leave it a review. I greatly appreciate all the feedback and suggestions from you, the listener, to improve the quality of this show. I would also like to take a quick moment to thank all of our patrons for their continued support. Your contributions allow us to continue making content every single week. Thank you guys so much. I also want to shout out that Evolved was able to raise $500 to donate to the Ukrainian Red Cross because of the war efforts and everything going on. That was something that we did for the month of March. So thank you all. I know some people upped their donations for that month. So I just wanted to thank all of our patrons who gave. And it was a very important cause for all of us here at the Evolved crew. So thank you. If you're not subscribed, our patrons receive a variety of exclusive rewards, such as early episodes, unique swag, access to our own podcast soundtrack, and more. You can head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved to learn more. Now, this week, we'll be covering episode 4 of the Halo TV show, which is Homecoming. The synopsis of the episode is: guided by his visions, John takes Halsey and Cortana back to where it all began, looking for answers from his past. With Soren along for protection, Quan goes in search of an army. It was directed by Roll Rain. Its runtime is 54 minutes and 32 seconds, and its original air date was April 14th, 2022. All right. Will, are you ready to watch the episode?
Let's get into it.
All right. So, if you are ready, and listeners, if you are ready, make sure that you're queued up at 000. I'll count us in from 5, and you press play when I say play. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. All right, so we're getting our last week in Halo right now for episode 3, Emergence. Will, since you weren't on last week, what did you think of episode 3?
I enjoyed it. There's a lot of great pieces. We got to explore John's humanity a little bit, or him discovering his humanity. We got to meet Cortana, and then we also saw one of my favorite pieces was seeing the hunter worms. Is coming from the game side of it. We only saw a hunter form out of worms. We never saw the worms act on their own. So that was kind of a cool piece for me to see. What about yourself? What were your thoughts?
I really liked it. This kind of seeing the hunter worms and that little action bit with McKee was pretty interesting and kind of cool just to see that she does really not like humans and sees herself as kind of not really a human, because she even has a line in there like, humans are so disgusting or something along those lines. So she really views herself as not a human despite being one. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And seeing Cortana and that whole sort of aspect was great. I yes, Cortana looks different, but I'm on board with what she looks like, because like I said in last episode, she looks different in every single game. And so it's I think it helps having Jen Taylor's voice as like that familiar piece to kind of really set you back into, to the time, or, to the events and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really liked it. I think it was up there. I think the first episode's still the best in my opinion, but episode 3 was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm glad they brought Jen Taylor in. She does such an amazing job, and you're right, having that familiar kind of familiar voice that we know Ty did this as well is really helpful.
Yeah, she's kind of the only piece that I think truly carries over from an actor character point of view, because all the other actors are, they're not quite the same from the in-game models, and even Chief's voice is different because Steve Downes isn't here, obviously. So, it was nice. Like seeing her, like it definitely brought a smile to my face, seeing her form and hearing Jen Taylor, speak the words. So, well, let's dive into episode 4. So we start off the bat with a flashback of John and the other Spartans in boot camp. We see them, just doing some PT, some personal training, and we see Soren there. He was holding the flag, which is the whole capture the flag mentality that they really had in their boot camp days that we get when we play multiplayer. And we in this scene where Halsey is talking to John, it's a little bit, I guess, her sort of kind of disciplining him in a very motherly way, saying, because he wants to go home. And I think we see the early stages of Halsey's sort of manipulation for all of these Spartans on how you need to forget about the past. You're here for a greater purpose, giving them all these niceties and trying to relate with them, that we see almost copy and paste to Halsey talking with John now in the previous episodes. So you could see her kind of bedside manner and how it's evolved over the past 22 years. Will, you've pretty much only played the games, correct? Like your extended lore knowledge of core canon, I'll say, is kind of very, very minimal.
Yes, yeah, very minimal. The games are what I've gone through. I've heard some things talking to you guys over time that have happened in the books and other things, but yeah, my knowledge is based on the games.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll definitely. I'll provide some context if anything comes up. that we want to discuss.
Perfect.
We kind of see that early bit of it, and Halsey says here, I've been asking the why John question um my entire life, this whole time I've been watching him, and we kind of get a little bit of that. I like this moment with Cortana because I think this is kind of like one of the first conversations that they've kind of very naturally just had. We had a little bit of that in the last episode, but it was kind of always first met with opposition, and then Chief kind of let his guard down. But this one, kind of from the get-go, you can see that their relationship is starting to become a little bit stronger. And I think throughout this episode, in fact, like Chief definitely trusts Cortana and is getting used to the fact that he's in his head.
I loved this view of arriving at the planet. Part of me was wishing it would dip between the rings. The ship would dip between the rings and fly in. And I thought that would have been a beautiful shot. But
That would have been pretty cool. Yeah.
It still looks great. It still looks great.
I think I've said it on every episode, but like the space shots are just always really well done. I think the CGI budget was definitely put to good use for this series, and I really hope there's a space battle, but they may be asking for a little too much. But yeah, no, that like searing Iridonis too, and that whole lead up, it was great. Yeah, it was definitely a good shot, a good moment there.
So comparing the Cortana meeting John for the first time from the games to this, it seemed, if I recall, he was very, he had Cortana as he was woken from cryo. In canon, is that also true, that's when he met Cortana, or did he have some sort of tie to Cortana before he was in cryo in canon?
Him and Cortana and Core Canon met prior to the events of CE. He and Cortana basically pair up for a training exercise, and John does have his hesitance, not so much in the show. I think in the show it's exaggerated a little bit more for the drama of it all. But in Core Canon, the kind of major line that's like said is like, well, what if she jeopardizes my mission? And Cortana says that, well, she'll sacrifice you to complete the mission if it came to that, like to kind of put a spin on it in that regard. And so he kind of had a little bit of respect for that. But then they do some training exercises with him in the suit, to the point where they literally take a longsword and fire like archer missiles at John, and he's like doing backflips in this like training arena, and he's like, wow, that was awesome. And so they kind of get along, so to speak, a little bit more quickly, because John sees her as another AI battle assistance sort of a thing. And also AIs are more common in the core canon, whereas Cortana in the Silver Timeline seems to be the first like smart AI, or even dumb AI by that meaning. So I think that's also why John's much more standoffish towards her, because she's just so new to the whole situation.
Okay.
So by the time you get in the games, they have a little bit. It's still early in their kind of partnership, but it's nonetheless not the first visit.
Okay.
Yeah. So we skipped over. We had Soren and Quan. They're en route to Magical City because Quan wants to find her family that wasn't in the settlement that she was in. And so I missed what they were talking about, but it was just kind of general stuff. But here, back in the Spartan quarters, we have our fourth little butt cheek of the series, and Kai and Riz have a conversation. We see that Kai removed her pellet after seeing John do it in the previous episode, which I think is interesting. I definitely wasn't expecting that. I figured she would I don't know, confront Chief about removing his pellet, or maybe bring it up to the other Spartans as ways to bring like doubt to Chief or something. Like, hey, I saw
Yeah.
him take out his pellet or something, to kind of not necessarily stir up the pot, but just, that would, I imagine, be very worrisome for the Spartans. So I find it interesting that Kai went ahead and just removed it herself without really thinking on it.
Yeah, they have projected that the Spartans are very, by order, by their code. It's surprising that she would go out of her way to remove that pellet. And I'm curious if there was anything else that brought that on. That I don't know if we get a flashback later. But I'm curious if they bring that back later in the show.
The only thing I was able to kind of see, and this is also why we see a little bit more of Kai versus Vanek and Riz, is that she. Oh, also, this is the shot from Halo Infinite. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yes.
From the reveal trailer, is that Kai was in the cave with Chief when the artifact, or when the keystone activated. So even though she can't make it activate, she's seen it up front and was kind of there with Chief and experienced that whole initial thing. So I think she has a slightly different viewpoint when it comes to Chief and the way he's acting over these last few episodes, because she'd seen, I guess, the inciting incident of it all. And that's kind of how I'm justifying it from like a linear story point of view. But outside of that, yeah, it is a little uncharacteristic for the Spartans to do that, because you have Riz and you have Vanek, who throughout this episode do behave much more Spartanly, where they're responding to orders, very matter of fact, giving you, no BS, whereas Kai is, being a little bit more exploratory.
I did get the sense like something was wrong from Halsey, and I forget the companion's name there, but like they did seem very worried that they were there with John.
Well, I think that's because Halsey knows that the more he goes down memory lane, so to speak, the more he will remember, and which means the harder she's going to have to work to kind of conceal it. And she literally does that towards the end, where it's like, no, don't listen to your memories. You might be mixing two or three things together and joining two memories to make a false memory. And
Yeah.
even though like he saw her, flip do the whole coin thing, which we'll get into it when we watch it. And that was straight up how she more or less recruited or stole him, however it kind of came to be. But no, they're definitely kind of concerned. I think that's partially why Halsey went. Yes, she wants to know what the artifact is, presumably because they're going to find it, but also she wants to keep kind of Master Chief on a leash.
Makes sense. Keep him tame, so to speak.
Yeah, control him, because that's her whole angle with that. So I do like Madrigal City here, just kind of like that kind of wide shot we got of Soren and Quan kind of walking toward the structure. Like I like how lively it feels with the small kind of carts rolling around, and then we saw Venture a moment earlier with his goons, and they got into some futuresque SUV, like Chevy Tahoe type of a vehicle. I'm really impressed with all of these sort of sets that they're building.
Here, I believe that's an ODST helmet he has.
Yep.
It was really cool to see that incorporated.
There's a I saw on Twitter, I don't know who pointed it out, but there was a Twitter user that pointed out that there's an OG Xbox in this scene, I think. In the background.
I'm gonna have to keep my eyes peeled. I didn't see that.
I don't think we've seen it yet, but it's like on a shelf behind one of these characters. Either in this scene or maybe it's another scene. But I was like, oh shit! And I think it's the Halo, like the Halo CE, like limited edition console as well. I think it's like a green one.
Oh, it's right there on the left, right in front.
There it is.
That that is cool. I'm glad they incorporated that.
So in general, well, I guess we'll talk about it next time we come back to Quan and them. But like, I'm not very impressed with. I was really hoping that this episode would be the episode that made me kind of quote unquote care about Quan, because like the last couple, I really liked her in episode 1. Episode 2 kind of made sense just because she was with Soren and Chief was still like not really sure what was going on. In episode 3, she was more or less kind of locked to the rubble. And I was like, okay, well now that Soren's taking her out of the rubble and she gets to be put in her element, I was hoping that what we would get in this episode would kind of make me, I guess, root for her a little bit more. But I didn't really get that this episode. What is your opinion of the kind of Quan wanting to still fight, wanting to still keep the insurrection alive sort of storyline? What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I was hoping something more would be present here in this episode. She's a very naive character, right? She still wants to fight this fight her family had, even though there really is no basis for it right now. I think I know what they're trying to do, but it's just not coming together. It's not impactful yet, and I am waiting for that moment as well.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what they need to do, just kind of thinking about it, like what they would really change, but there's a lot of this episode of her just, we need to fight, and it's just not landing anywhere, and I guess there needs to just be more that she's able to do, and I guess since she's a teenager, there's not a whole lot she can do, but it'd be nice to see her take charge instead of just, more or less whining, I guess. That's not the best word, but anyway. I like this scene. I really like Miranda this episode. Miranda might be my favorite character of episode 4. Her trying to capitalize on Halsey not being at reach, and now she gets some one-on-one time with the artifact, and she's here with the Spartans to do her own evaluations to see if she can make any progress on it.
Yeah, the show is doing a decent job setting up how much pull Halsey really has, and Miranda has to operate kind of in the shadow here to get done what she really wants.
Mm-hmm. And I had a feeling that dynamic would be the case when we learned that the two of them would be in here, because that makes for good drama. You kind of have these two characters that keep their distance from each other, and the fact that one's it's a mother-daughter relationship also makes it more impactful.
Were you hoping to see an artifact here instead of the drawings that we get?
I was pretty sure it was all things related to the artifact without it being the artifact, which I was hoping there'd be more than just drawings, but the fact that it is only drawings is more or less what I figured it would be, because the flashbacks that we're getting is him drawing all this stuff, and like if the artifact that he's seeing fits or houses the keystone, then it's a giant ass artifact, which we learned that it is. And and like they're not just going to be able to bury that in their backyard, especially in that
Yeah.
case. So I was like, yeah, it'll be the drawings, and it might be a few other things. Maybe they're like, I don't know. Maybe I was thinking there might be like smaller pieces of the artifact, but like I don't know why Forerunner tech would like break apart just out of the blue, but I mean, I liked it. I thought it was, yeah, this kid's having visions. He's drawing a lot. His dad gets angry. And I even liked how earlier, there was like, I don't know, a dozen or two holes that like Chief was digging around, and Halsey's just sitting there on our little iPad and to kind of uncover it all. Were you thinking that the artifact was going to be in there? Is that why you asked?
I didn't know what angle they were going to take. Once we saw it was drawings, I was hoping there would be some sort of other knickknack, so to speak, of John's childhood, but we got the drawings that we got.
Yeah, it would be interesting if he. I don't know why. I don't know why you would have him like bury his toys in there, but it could have been a character moment to have more than just the drawings to kind of give you an idea of John as a kid. But I mean, at the same time, because it's full of drawings, like why they just didn't burn them or whatever, I don't know. But that in itself just shows you how obsessed he was as a kid with these visions. So this is Quan meeting her. I missed her aunt or her general. Her dad's like number one general or something. Kind of interrupting her own dad's service, but I guess she doesn't really care that much. But I liked the moment. Like I think it's interesting to see a outer colony sort of funeral service, memorial service. It's a nice little detail to, I don't know, include lifestyle choice.
From a pacing standpoint, I was surprised at how fast she was able to find the people she was looking for in the state that the city's in. I thought it would be a little bit more difficult, and maybe they'd take that storyline of her growing up maybe through the search and through having to be in these difficult times in Madrigal.
Yeah, that would have been interesting if her and Soren had to do a little bit more like sneaking around and avoiding the patrols of everything in order to get to this point. Um, yeah, that would have been an interesting sort of angle because she kind of just happenstances upon her friend as walking through the market in the scene before. So yeah, it could have been. But I'm not all surprised that like Venture's people are like monitoring this funeral service, like because of course they are, and so the fact that the moment she spoke up about it and they just kind of come out makes sense to me, and I do like that. But again, it's just like I want a little bit more stakes with it.
Yeah. And it seems like he really wants a grasp on everything going on.
Yeah, he want it's basically like a utilitarian like dictatorship almost.
Oh, and here we see she sees the red hair for the first time.
Yep. Yeah, we kind of talked over her. I don't know why her impulse decision to dye her hair. Her sort of teenage rebellion, as I think they kind of touch on it, but I like this moment here where she kind of changes the subject that like Miranda doesn't really like the Spartans, and it's not really because of what the Spartans are, but it's just because the Spartans are Halsey's creations and they're Halsey's like divisions. So she kind of has this natural instinct to not like them and kind of despise them just because her mom, created them and they're such an integral part of the UNSC now. And here we have Kai kind of talking about the craziness and the severities that they go through. I think it was a good little sticking point that that guy kind of had. The "Together We Prevail" was also a nice touch
Oh, in the
when
background
Riz
on the
and
wall.
yeah when Riz and Vanek walked away, and we got that before the scene change. So this scene I want to talk about just from like a filmmaking point of view, because I think it's really interesting and very difficult, I think, to film, because they have to have two different sets to have the overgrown one and then like the hologram one, and the way they constantly are intercutting between the two like is really a testament to the filmmakers to shot list their stuff, so then that way they know which pieces they need to get on which set, so then they can edit it all together, and it kind of comes off very seamless that it came to. But I had that thought while I was watching. I was just pretty impressed, just kind of how fluid they did everything, and you get the even the shots of Chief in his helmet to kind of get his reaction and his eyeball kind of like looking around. Like I really liked that touch, and really, I don't know, really sold me the scene. I thought it was great.
Yes, I agree. Really well done. This is one of my favorite moments from this episode was John exploring his childhood home.
And I think that shot we just had of Halsey is, like any of these shots really with Halsey, with her intrigue, I think plays on what you were saying earlier and how they're she's just kind of monitoring and a little resistant to whatever John's learning, because she's afraid of what it might do.
Yeah, she's obviously wanting to find the other artifact, but she also is worried about what John might become from all this.
Yeah, Halsey definitely wants to get him out of there.
Yep. I am curious if Cortana, because Cortana's kind of on both sides here. I'm wondering if she sensed that Halsey didn't want him to go that way and cut the data off.
Oh, I didn't think of that, but that'd be an interesting play if uh if that was the case. I'd have to rewatch it to kind of see how they look at each other, and but but yeah, that could have been the sort of angle. I also think it's pretty interesting that like a lot of the controversy of like Chief taking his helmet off to like emote and act, and the fact that Chief kind of always keeps his helmet on. Like, I feel like some of the best acting we've gotten from Pablo so far are when he's wearing the helmet right here and we're getting the in helmet cam of his face. Like, anytime it cuts back to him, like this shot and like just these subtle details, I don't know, to me, like read very well. And I just find that a little, I found that a little funny while I was watching it. It's just like, all these great acting moments is while he's wearing the helmet.
Yeah, and it is so great, the subtleness in his face, just the slight twinge of a smile when he's having these memories. It really is impactful. I like that image too of him kneeling over like what he was to what he has become.
Yeah. And it even mimics his father's stance. We'll see in a second. I think his dad takes a knee next to him while he's drawing, and he's in pretty much the same. Yeah, right here. He's
Yeah,
pretty much
right
in the
there.
same spot. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's some good juxtaposition there.
The ring.
I am curious what those lines are, though. It didn't really register anything to me. Like, I don't know if he's seeing like the ring travel through space or something, or because it almost looks like a weird jellyfish type of a thing.
Yeah, my first instinct was that it was like the ring firing or pulsing. Um, Maybe he saw an image when of the ring going off at some point in time.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, the rings did fire 100,000 years ago, so
Yep,
if
yep.
he's having all these visions and I touched upon it in another episode, but if we truly explore the forerunners and the geishas that some humans have been imprinted with, then that angle can definitely be explored later on. And I do like this moment where now he's out of the suit for a brief moment. I thought that was a good one.
It was such a quick moment. I didn't realize that my first watch through.
Now here you have Halsey with John flipping the coin, which is a very memorable or identifiable moment in the extended canon. So in Fall of Reach, when they talk about John's and Halsey's first meeting, he's actually on a playground playing King of the Hill with a bunch of other school kids, and Halsey and Jacob Keyes are, looking for him, and then after they find him, they pull him over and they do the tossing of the coin, and John snatches it, catches it, and guesses it, and that's where it goes on to where John is the luckiest Spartan. Halsey even says that. It says, "Wow, 15 times in a row, you're so lucky." So basically, it's pulling that scene, but putting it in his home, because she traveled to look at all these kids before she eventually either abducted them or signed them on to become in the Spartan program.
I like that we see them kind of scanning, uh, examining the covenant here in the background.
Yeah, this is a part of the Halo universe that we really don't see a whole lot of, but like, there were whole science divisions that, like that Miranda is working in the TV show, that analyze the Covenant and their weaponry, and reinvent things and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool to see that being portrayed. And I think that's part of the reason why Miranda was slightly changed in the Silver Timeline to be more of a doctor. So then we can see some of these aspects of the Halo universe. Whereas you'd otherwise need to just create a new character that, we don't necessarily need. But since Miranda already exists, we could tweak her a little bit to then get this side of the of Oni and the UNSC. And even in this moment here where she's, deciphering the language, and like again, that's another moment that, I'm sure in the history of the Halo canon, like you've had linguists trying to decipher the Sangheili language and all that. And so to kind of see all these little tidbits getting shown on screen, I think is a great, world building type of dynamic, I guess. I guess what I would have just preferred is if there really was a resistance. Like like imagine if that scene before this was the general being like we shouldn't talk here, or like, there's something brewing, and there's some sort of like inclination that there is something going on, and that there is like a coup trying to be organized against Venture, to then where now Quan and Soren are trying to like insert themselves, and maybe Soren's trying to leave, but his ship gets hijacked, and Quan wants to obviously stay so she can be in the thing, and that's how Soren kind of gets roped into it all. But because there's just so many roadblocks to Quan's goals, it just kind of falls a little bit to make it not as interesting, because it's like, come on, like I want to see what's going on, and I want to be invested in her story, but it's just not landing with us.
Yeah, her story seems to be not progressing. I think that's the trouble with it. She's kind of in the same
Yeah.
position as that she was in episode 1. And she is hitting a lot of roadblocks. So I guess I'm kind of just left waiting at this point to see what they're going to do with her storyline.
Yeah. No, I exactly. And I think that's how I have to live with it, I guess. But I do like this sort of like evil villain type of scene that we're getting. Venture taking a giant bath with a cigar, talking with this assassin.
Yep. Another butt we had to see.
And another butt. Yep, that's our fourth butt, I think. Fourth butt in 4 episodes. I think I tweeted out, I was like, I said what, McKee, John, Kai, and Venture all have something in common. Who's next?
It was nice to see Soren in action there a little bit.
Yep. Nope, I really like that. And we get to see some more of it. And I'm 100% for it. I like his hand cannon that he has. And he is a Spartan, so like yes, he's deformed with that arm and he didn't finish the training, but like he still had, I don't know, at least 8 to 10 years of Spartan training and just military training. And I'm sure living on your own at the age of 14 or whatever when he ran away is wasn't easy as well. So and being a pirate, as on top of all of that, I'm sure you have to have some level of rough and gruff. So yeah, I'm happy we got a taste of Soren, and I do want to see more of him in action and kind of getting called to fight. I don't know what that tube thing is, or the tubular alien thing behind her. I keep wanting thinking it's the the flood, but I know it's not. But like I
Hunter worms?
Oh, never mind. Duh. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it didn't register. Yeah, those are that's the let go low. Okay. I was looking at it, I was just like, what is that? But no, yeah, those are totally the hunter worms. I don't know what I was thinking. I should probably edit that out, but I can't. Oh well. Make myself look good.
You know what? I honestly, the first time watching this episode, I had the same thing. I'm like, is that the flood? But no, we haven't been there yet. So I had the same question.
Yeah.
In this scene, we're getting kind of Miranda has her resentment towards the Spartans, and that Halsey never let her near them, and now she's kind of learning what they're going through as well. And even though they can be emotionless, they're kind of showing what they had to do to get there.
Yeah, with their pets that they had, and yeah, just kind of you're right. Like even though they're pretty deadpan, like you can still tell that Vanek was still hurt by the events, but just like how a Spartan needs to take control of a situation and keep their mind focused, he kind of still echoes that to this day. So yeah, that was a very good scene. Hashtag Halsey lies.
That could probably trend every day an episode releases.
So I don't know if you noticed this, but I noticed this the moment that Soren like hijacks this guy's bike and gets the helmet. I was like, oh, they need something to disguise his stunt double while he rides this motorcycle. So he wears this goofy hat, and sure enough, it was too funny.
I didn't even think of that, but it makes total sense now that you mention it.
Uh-huh. Like you look at the shots, they're all, an unknown person. Yeah. And then Quan, I'd have to look and see about her, but they probably got a kind of short stunt double for her to ride with him. His hand cannon also is giving me Destiny vibes.
Yeah, the orangish yellow color there. Yep, reminds me of the Vanguard color.
Wonder if that was intentional or not. Now, I will say, even though this scene wasn't all that engaging, what I did like about it is how it intercut this and the assassin, because they're talking about her dad. And so naturally when I'm watching this, I'm thinking, oh, okay, we're getting flashbacks of her dad and to see like what changed him, because, we're learning that there's a secret that we're about to get into. I never wanted to ruin your image of your father. But then it's revealed that it's the assassin that Vinstra hired, and it was, I don't know, it took me by surprise, and I was like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. I didn't notice that, even though looking at it now, I like see her long hair and I kind of get that that's her. But like first time watching this, I was like, oh, okay, this is her dad doing some cool things that we're about to learn a deep secret about from his past. So I did like that from this, but in terms of what they're talking about, I was just, again, like we keep saying, roadblocks.
Yeah, I'm assuming in episode 5 that's where Soren is going to want to head into the ship to get off the planet, and I'm sure she's going to try to pull him to explore the desert.
Yeah, I could see that. To find the desert people to learn more about her dad and what he was going through.
Yeah, that is giving me strong Destiny vibes. The way he loaded it back up, he pushed it out to push the revolver out.
Yeah, it's like just subtle enough, or just like changed to make it future-esque, and it just gives me hand cannon vibes. So, but it's just future weapons. Here you go. Here's our stunt doubles riding their motorcycles.
Yep. Can't see his face. Top down shot. Again, too fast. I
I
wonder if
like
they
how the
pulled.
warthog.
Oh,
Oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say the warthog was nice that they were able to make that practical. Just hop in and drive around.
Yeah, I was curious if they pulled the same audio that they use in the games for the show. It
Yeah,
sounded very
maybe.
familiar.
I'm sure there's definitely that, and if not there, definitely elsewhere. But in that case, yeah, it did sound similar.
More bonding.
More bonding.
And then in a moment here, they're going to talk about decoding the language, and they come up with the sacred ring. But then she immediately calls it Halo. I'm wondering where that correlation came from.
I think she's um because it's is it Reth? I think it's Reth in the second episode that says, does he say Halo?
I
I
can't.
wonder. I don't recall, but I feel like they could have just thought that because of the projection off of the artifact, looks like, yes, it looks like a ring, and I guess ring and halo are synonymous. I don't know. Are you saying it was a little bit of a stretch that they said it? They said halo instead of the ring.
Yeah. I got yeah. Instead of from what I guess I don't remember that previous episode if it was in there, but yeah, for me it seemed like a weird stretch to go from ring just directly to halo.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to watch that episode again or see what Reth said. But and I'm trying to think. I think the is it that I guess it's the Forerunners that called it Halo because the Covenant always called it the Sacred Rings. They never called it Halo. Um, but Cortana calls it Halo because I think that's what the Forerunners said in the game when she was on the ring in the first one there. I'm really happy Chief just jumps in there. I was like, don't tell me he's just gonna climb down. Like, just have him jump in, and he does. And I was like, thank you.
Yeah, like I'm just getting in there. I'm not sliding down.
Yeah,
I'm
like
not taking my
that's
time. I'm just jumping right in.
exactly. It's like that's and then little old Halsey.
Yeah, I like how he just kind of left him behind too. He's like, I'm doing this. Like I'm not. I don't
Oh
care if
yeah,
you're
hundred
down here or
percent.
not.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that. And then now this is interesting. So like we kind of are wrapping up this episode, and we get this monologue from Miranda just talking about how kind of like vicious Halsey is, and how everyone she works with, like if she can't control them, it's a liability to her. And it's just it's very dark. And this is Miranda talking about her mom,
Mm-hmm.
so it's I don't know, it's a little chilling. But man, she's so excited to see that foreigner artifact. Like, doesn't tolerate glitches. And there we go. Episode 4. I'm just taking it in, just thinking about it. Yeah, it wasn't not my favorite episode. You know, it continues the plot. The stuff with Kai and Miranda I thought was good. The stuff with John and him learning was fine. There just wasn't. I don't know. There just wasn't really anything that just kind of like really pulled me in. It was just more character, a little bit more world building, and just kind of just moving a little bit more through the story. Nothing that really moves or changes the state of things too much. Like the status quo for everybody pretty much stayed the same the whole time. There weren't any power shifts.
Yeah, we're getting these stepping stones, so to speak, and I think they're building up to something. We'll see what event that they incorporate, but I think it is gonna lead to something, and we just I think we have to just wait until they give it to us, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's what we got to do. But I'm pretty sure I don't want to say too much, but I'm pretty sure episode 5 is going to give us some interesting set pieces that a lot of fans have been longing for. But in general, where do you see the rest of the season kind of heading? Like, not necessarily this next episode, but just like, we're almost halfway through. Like, you could argue that after episode 5, we're only 4 episodes left after that. So, kind of near this midpoint, like, what do you want to get from the rest of the season to kind of give you that first season of Halo and that first seasonal arc?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Just because the timeline is different in the TV world here, I would expect that we at least see a Halo ring before the end of the season. There's more Covenant action, I guess. I would hope to see. They were kind of introduced. We saw the fight in the first episode, and I want to see more of that, more of the UNSC taking on the Covenant, them showing their power, as the Covenant showing their power, and the UNSC showing theirs, and what the Spartans can do in battle. And I'm, oh man, I keep forgetting her name, but the woman who's working with the Covenant,
McKee,
that's right.
who was absent this whole episode.
Yeah.
She wasn't in this episode. She definitely got a lot of screen time last episode, but it is interesting that she didn't make any appearance.
Yeah. Yep. I'm wondering what role she's going to play in all of it. So I hope they reveal what she is fully up to. What are your expectations?
So similar to you, I mean, we definitely need more Covenant action and fighting. I get that it's a TV show has to find that balance. Playing the game, like, you're supposed to have those minute to minute engagements the entire time, because that's what the video game is supposed to do. And so I understand that you can't do that the entire time for the TV show, so I'm okay with it being spread out across the season, which is why I'm happy we're going to get some of that in episode 5, because I feel like it's gone on long enough without it. I do agree that we need to see a Halo by the end of the season, and I almost wager that we're on the surface of a Halo by the end of the season. But like, outside of that, I kind of seeing where it's going, it almost seems like it's going to be a race to the ring, because if I had to predict, like, this next episode is all about them trying to get the keystone to the object so then they can put it in and presumably find the location of the ring, and then you have 3 or 4 episodes, 2 to 4 episodes of them on the way there, and all these other characters trying to figure out what's going on. So I think we're going to get a few more character episodes after 5 to just kind of get our, I don't know, to kind of get our different power struggles across, like who owns a situation versus another, until it all culminates to them finding a Halo ring. But I don't think, there's so much that would need to happen if we were to get on a ring and find the control room and find the index and risk activating it. Like, I feel like all of that stuff is just season 2, if not after. But I feel like the rest of this season, I feel like, needs to be the search for the ring, or the race to the ring, is kind of what I think it'll be. And then maybe the last shot of the season and them seeing the ring, or maybe they make, ring fall, if you will, and touch base on it and see what it's all about. So, but yeah, I don't know. I'm invested.
Me too. I'm also curious if they're going to bring in the fall of Reach, because obviously we're planted there now. The base is there. Yeah, I'm wondering if that's going to come into play at all. I'm wondering if the outer planets were the first to be glassed, if I remember correctly, and I'm wondering if that's going to start happening at all during the season or leading into next season. because there's just some pieces of the Covenant War that's missing, right? And
Yeah, we're not really getting the urgency that the Covenant War was in the books and in the games. It seems to definitely be like an ongoing thing, but it's not as front and facing that I think that the books and things kind of make it. There's definitely more breathing room for like all these other individualized stories, which could just be the nature of the TV show medium, in that, you know, we're not always privy to what Lord Hood, and I mean Admiral Parangosky wasn't in this episode either. She could be dealing with other things, and even Captain Keyes wasn't here, so like he, you know, could have been in a Covenant engagement for all that we know. Probably not, but who knows? So yeah, I think kind of getting a little bit of that would be nice. And maybe not Reach, but I kind of could see Madrigal getting glassed. But I think I don't really have that prediction anymore, because at the end of episode 3, McKee was like, let's go back to Madrigal because that's where the Keystone was. But I don't know if it's worth her going back there now that we know that there's another artifact on Eridanos 2, and I feel like she might get pulled there since that's also where Chief is. And so, you know, it could have been interesting if they basically went to Magical and just started glassing the planet, searching for more artifacts, and then that could help bring some urgency to Quan's story, but then it also kind of removes McKee and the Covenant from the Spartan story. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see kind of how it's all laid down. But I mean, I could see a glassing of Reach or like a fall of Fleetcom, maybe not season 1, but like later down the line, and that could mimic, you know, the infamous fall of Reach from core canon. So definitely a lot to play with.
Yes. I'm just more Halo content. It's always great. We always need more content, right?
Yes. It keeps the lights on, if you will.
Yes.
Well, Will, I think we're going to wrap up the commentary episode there. If you are interested, or if our listeners, if you are interested, Paramount Plus produces a Halo after show segment called Halo the Series Declassified that releases with each TV episode. For this week, Homecoming, Sydney Goodman interviews Jen Taylor, the voice of Cortana. Jen describes her relationship with Cortana over the years of portraying her and the exciting challenges when portraying Cortana in the Silver Timeline. The after show continues with a segment about creating the Sangheili language with David Peterson and Carl Buck, two linguists that have worked on other TV shows and movies to create new languages. And they follow up with another segment about the visual effects that brings Cortana and the Halo series to life. So you can check that out on Paramount Plus. And with that, Will, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, again, thanks for having me. It was a great time to go through and talk about the episode.
Thank you, the listener, for joining us, and hope you enjoyed this commentary for another week of Halo TV Plus. Halo the series premieres exclusively on Paramount Plus every Thursday morning at midnight Pacific Standard Time. Like I mentioned at the top of the show, you can find every episode to all of our shows that Evolved produces on our website, evolvedhalo.com. It also features links to our Discord server, Patreon page, Xbox Live Club, and other contact information. Once again, another special shout out to all of our patrons for your continued support for Evolved and making all of our shows possible. Head over to patreon.com/HaloEvolved to learn more. And finally, if you want to leave us an email or a voicemail about this week's episode of Halo the Series, you can email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 205-EVOLVED. That's 205-386-5833. Will, do you want to plug HCS Pro Talk and how our listeners can catch up on the latest Halo competitive news with you and Josh?
Yes, so we do a live show on Twitch every Monday at 7 p.m., barring any scheduling conflicts. Find us on Twitter at HCS Pro Talk, and then, of course, go to evolvedhalo.com. We have a little segment on there that the Evolved crew were so gracious to provide us with. So come find us wherever you want to find us.
Yeah, and that's 7 o'clock Central U.S. time, correct?
Yes, Central. Thank you for the clarification.
7 Central on Twitch, HCS Pro Talk. It's a great... Their energy is amazing. I love it. And with that, everybody, I've been your host, Oran, and until next time, evolve!